Police officers of Reddit, what's the weirdest thing you've caught teenagers or kids doing that is illegal, but you found hilarious? I feel like a cop has a story about me and 2 other people. Here goes. I was 20 at the time, and at an outdoor party at a friend's. Late fall, 50 degrees or so, no leaves left on the trees. Roughly 50 to 60 people, mostly underage, most were drinking. My friend's parents lived in a nicer part of a bad area and owned an inflatable bounce house business. They had everything set up. A bounce house, sumo suits, massive slide, all sorts of drunken fun shit. Around 10:30 it's getting loud and the police show up. Someone yells cops, run, and everyone starts running. I decide to join the crowd and end up hiding in a bush with 2 people. Then, reality hits. I'm wearing a white hoodie, the guy next to me has on a neon yellow hoodie, and this girl has a fucking glow necklace on. The bush. Not a fucking leaf on it. Right then a cop walks up, starts laughing and asks, really guys, and shines a flashlight directly on us. He instructs us to head back to the driveway with the other captives, and gives all of us a pretty hilarious speech. Seriously? We are the Flint Police Department. We have a million things better to do, rather than chase down drunk minors. We had 2 murders just this week. We were just coming by to tell you to keep the noise down. Now we are pouring out all your beer, and calling your parents. Now we are even didn't give out any tickets, just poured out all the beer, and called everyone's parents. I had a cop search my backpack once, and found a couple of beers and a box of condoms. I was with my friends at the time, so he was like, why are there 3 beers, a box of condoms and 2 dudes? I was speechless. My brother was a cop who worked nights in Minneapolis. One snowy night near the UOFM campus he noticed a car weaving, so he pulled them over thinking there would be alcohol involved. Nope, it was a car full of deaf people having an argument which included the driver. He just told the driver to not sign and drive. Not a cop, but I have a radio scanner. Dispatcher, reports of a teenager riding a skateboard naked down Westway. Cop, is the suspect carrying a suspicious package? My brother is a cop, and he told me one time he got a call around 9:30 in the morning for a suspicious person sitting in their car in a neighborhood. My bro goes up to him and asks what he's doing. Dude is waiting for his wife to leave for work so he can go back home and play WoW all day instead of go to his own job. My bro tells him to go wait somewhere else because he's freaking out the neighbors. Edit. To clarify a few things, the guy was parked in a different neighborhood than his own because he was hiding from his wife until she left the house, so nobody knew him, and it's obviously suspicious to be idling your car in front of some random house in a neighborhood while kids are going to school. It's not illegal, but he took the good advice to go wait somewhere else, preferably more public like a Walmart parking lot or something. Edit. Also the dude was scared as shit that the cops were going to go tell his wife that he was hiding from her because he wanted to go back home and play video games. My brother of course doesn't give 2 shits about that. He just wanted the dude to go somewhere else so people would stop calling about it and causing him needless work. Edit. And yes, you can call the cops for any reason you want. It's a necessary but annoying part of a cop's job to go tell some oblivious man Bobby to wait somewhere else because they are disturbing the paranoid soccer moms who think they are going to nab their kids. My friend had a bunch of prop arms and legs in his car, you know, college. He and his other friend were trespassing in the Northfield tunnels. Google it, and when they get back to the car there is a cop waiting. He asks to see in the trunk, so they open it. He jumps back a secretary, but quickly realizes their arms and legs are fake and he hasn't caught some serial killers, then gives them a very stern shut the fuck up look as he calls his partner from the car to come look at this, all shaky voiced, as he tells my friend and his friend to put their hands up, hella serious. The other cop comes over, looks in the trunk and freaks the fuck out, screams, and runs away back to the car. At which point the first cop bursts out laughing and tells my friends haha, he was in Vietnam, haha, and as a get out of here gesture and sends them on their way. So basically he used my friend to pull a super cruel practical joke on his partner. It wasn't illegal, but really suspicious. I was a cop in the Air Force. We had just gone into a higher FPCON threat level, and around 11 o'clock at night I saw 3 people in an empty dark field near some power lines with shovels and a garden hoe. My partner and I decided to stop them and see what was going on, because it didn't look like civil engineering or anyone that should be there at that hour. So we go up, see that they're all about 14 to 15 years old and they're all sweating and out of breath. We ask what they're digging for, and they say they weren't digging, which after looking around we didn't see any dug up dirt. So my partner asks what they're doing, and they hesitantly answer that they were LARPing. One of their dads shows up and scolds them, telling them how shady they look, apologizes to us, and we send them all back to the dad's house, which was about 100 yards away. I hold back my laughter until I get back to the car, where I have to explain to my partner what LARPing is and why I'm laughing. My brother was once jumping his bike off the end of the public boat dock behind the city hall, which also housed our police station. They had it tethered so it wouldn't get lost on the bottom. A cop came out, watched for a while and said, "I'm fairly certain something about that is illegal, but I can't figure out what, and it looks like fun, so be safe," and walked back inside. A few years ago a friend and I were walking home through a residential estate, drunk, after a night out. About halfway home a police car pulls up next to us and says they need to talk to us. They say that CCTV in the area had observed us entering several front gardens. We then drunkenly explained that we had been going into people's gardens and swapping around flower pots, hanging baskets and garden ornaments with their next door neighbors. One of the cops was laughing a lot and the other seemed really confused. Luckily they got another call and let us carry on our way. I got a call about 2 kids, teenagers, smoking weed in their park truck down by the duck pond. You know the one. Anyways, I contacted them and they were very respectful and insisted on filming me on their cell phones while I spoke to them. I told them I wasn't interested in their weed, still illegal in my state, but I wanted to make sure they got home safe, that the driver was sober enough to operate the vehicle. I did basic FSTs on the driver and determined he was good to drive, all the while his buddy filming every movement and interaction, so I decided to have some fun. By the end of the evaluation I had the nervous driver doing the YMCA sprinkler move and a janky ass version of the robot before he finally realized what was happening. His buddy filming realized right away, and his defensive lawyer cameraman posture dissolved into a stoned kid that was now having a good time again. The driver broke down and busted up laughing before shaking my hand down, hopping back in his truck. The cameraman gave me a fist bump and just said thank you in a way that I took as wow, good to know some of you are human. It's annoying that we have to live with a stigma that gets portrayed by popular media, and quite frankly some of us deserve it. But it's still nice to know when you get through to someone, I mean really alter their perception and break down a barrier put up by others. Cops are here to make sure people don't hurt one another, that's it. If you're going to hurt someone else, even if it's just a strong possibility, I'm your worst enemy. But if you're just swaying from societal norms that change like the weather and being yourself, have at it man. You only live once. Okay, off soapbox. Oh, proofreading FST equals field sobriety test. Edit. Well, I wasn't expecting gold. Thank you very much. I didn't catch them, but when I arrived at my first station, after graduating from the academy, I was talking to some of the guys who had been there a while. I asked if they knew my cousin, who lived in that patrol area. Turns out they did. They had a call a few years back of some kids driving around, pulling up next to cars at traffic lights and waving a huge dildo at the drivers, laughing hysterically, then driving off. They were pulled over, brought down to the station, and parents were notified. There was one old timer who was a bit of dick, telling me that my cousin was a pervert, as were his friends, but the other guys said they thought it was hilarious when it happened, and they never charged the kids with anything. I still mess with my cousin about that when I see him. When I was a teen, living in the Phoenix area, we would fill up the back of a pickup with shaved ice from behind the ice rink, and then build snowmen in people's yards. We would do it at night, before ringing and driving away. One time, a neighbor called the cops after hearing a group of teens sneaking around outside. the cop came by and found out what we were doing. Instead of getting after us, he told us to follow him somewhere. We ended up making a snowman in his own front yard. He rang the doorbell and hid around the corner while his wife came to the door, and then his kids came out. There are some good cops out there. Not all of them are like the ones shooting people without cause. Not a cop, but I was a soldier in the Army National Guard after 9/11. This informs the rest of my story. We were tasked with securing our armory immediately after 9/11 in case anyone decided to attack a soft target. This involved 24/7 armed security by soldiers with M16s in camouflage and body armor. This was immediately after the attacks, and for those who weren't old enough to remember it, shit was weird at the time. Well, me and several fellow soldiers were guarding our couple-acre compound in the middle of a smaller city. Adjacent to this compound was a park with baseball fields that teenagers would go to and fuck/smoke weed. Well, a blacked out car pulled down the road one night and my buddy was conducting a roving patrol that night complete with night vision goggles. Well, they weren't in our compound, but they were pretty suspicious, so we called the local law enforcement. By this time I had met my fellow soldier out back to keep an eye on them. 4 cop cars came screaming down this entrance and drew their weapons. These kids shit when they found out that the cops were called. They asked who called. The cops shined their lights over at us, and there stood 3 soldiers in camouflage with helmets, tactical vests, night vision goggles, and M16s staring at them. We never saw that car again. I can only imagine the story they told their friends. They were released, and as far as I know, no charges were brought against them. Hey boomer, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's free, and that's a great price.